Welcome to the Cherry Picker, the horror movie podcast where we like to kill people, but not really. I'm your host, Zach Cherry. With me, as always, is
Freddy's dead. Eddie of Edward is Truth.
Eddie's dead.
She takes a long time before she says it.
Yeah, and thanks for revealing the title of the movie. So I'll just say The Final Nightmare.
Yeah.
Released September 13th, 1991, also known as Virgo season.
Yeah. Just a few days before my birthday or after.
Birthday, yeah.
I'm not telling you when my birthday is. You're not stealing my identity. We're English on and off now, so it's just gonna come in and out. Just
like Harry Elwes or
like...
Kelly McNamara. If you know the reference.
Fun stuff.
And also, for some reason, I'm very pixelated tonight. So for anyone listening, I know.
I said it's only going to make you look lovelier, Zach Cherry.
Lovely. It's like the vase line on the
the
lens.
Baseline. The gauze over the camera, just to soften you.
The glow, yeah.
Yes. The women always got the gauze on the lens. I'm trying to think if there were ever any men who got gauze on the lens in their close-ups. Probably the pretty boys.
Yeah.
Maybe Montgomery Clift or someone, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, last week we talked about Jason Lives, so this week we can talk about Freddy's Dead.
Yeah.
Funny how that worked. Both the 6 parts of their respective franchises.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've been kind of, as we've gone along through these franchises, we've kind of coincided we won't move on. We won't like jump ahead. Maybe that'll change. I don't know. But
Except for Freddy versus Jason.
Well, the thing is, like, this is there's 7 entries. Well, 8 if you include the remake, and I guess 9 if you're also covering Freddy versus Jason, which we did cover way back when.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, we're one away from the end of this franchise proper.
Mm-hmm.
And this was was this always originally intended to be the final nightmare?
Yes. Unfortunately, it had been diminishing returns after 5 for the first time in the franchise. Every sequel prior to 5 had outdone its predecessor. And then this one came down, the 5th one came down the pike, and all of a sudden, it's just released too soon, and whatever, and they had whatever problems they did with the MPAA. I like 5, but they knew, okay, we need to end it, but because obviously it seems like it's losing steam. Maybe if we end it with a movie, we can get a lot of hype if we promote it as the death of Freddy, and they even held a promotional funeral for him at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery that I had mentioned. I don't remember if it was last week or the week before.
That's the director.
Oh, that's right.
Tom McLaughlin, as you corrected me after the podcast. McLaughlin
laughs all up and down the symmetry, writing Jason's lives.
Jason's
lives.
Resurrection.
Jason's lives.
That should have been the name of the Friday the 13th, Resurrection.
Oh, it was supposed to be. Originally, it was going to be. What was it? It was another. Because Jesus Lives. It was supposed to be a takeoff on that, but there was another Jesus thing. It wasn't Jesus is God or anything, but it was like, oh God, what was it? It was going to be something else, and it sounded too much like, Jesus is eternal or whatever it is.
That just makes me
eternal.
That just makes me think of Hellraiser, like the last line when he says Jesus wept. With his tongue doing that gross thing. Did we discuss what the original line was supposed to be?
I can't remember. You tell me.
It's just simply, I don't know. It's maybe too early to say this, but I'll just. It was a curve. Well, he's just like, fuck you.
Was it?
Yeah, they're just like, yeah, but maybe we can be more clever than that.
More poetic, yeah.
Yes.
It fits so much better with "And Jesus Wept," even though in North
Yeah.
Americas we don't use that phrase very often, but the Brits understood what it was.
Well, the thing is, like, that sounds more like something that you would get from Chucky.
Yeah, fuck
Like,
you. Also, you do say it in the opening, like the podcast where we like to kill people, and you don't say unalive, you say kill. So if they're gonna, take
I've
away our
never had an issue with kill or die or like it's just I think that that's people being a little too uppity. Like you'll see it on like Twitter or whatever,
people
where there's
people
just
being
like
like, I
the
don't even want to risk getting flagged. Maybe I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, like but I just like with my YouTube videos of like who killed who,
Hmm.
it's just like who unalived who, and like, God, could you imagine how
No.
obnoxious that would be, and
Yeah.
how would the algorithm respond to that? But
Yeah.
yeah, this is Freddy's dead,
Yes.
um, and so as we've been going through the movies, we've kind of, I guess, provided our updated ranking with each
Hmm.
one.
Yeah.
And I would be curious if you and anyone in the chat, and if you are watching or listening to this after the fact, you may comment as well. But what's the situation at right now?
Carrie Elways again. I up with the ones that we've watched thus far.
Yeah.
I would say this one is at the bottom.
Mm,
Above it, I would put right now because I'm revisiting these movies and I'm re-ranking, and I haven't
yeah.
gotten this far into this particular franchise yet. But I think I am going to, because I had it the other way around before, have Freddy versus Jason above that, and then Freddy's Revenge above that. I think I had them swapped before because Freddy's Revenge, there was more angst in it, but
Mm,
I'm looking forward to seeing Freddy's Revenge again so much more than I am to seeing Freddy versus Jason again. And it's not like I'm not looking forward
mm.
to seeing it, but Freddy's Revenge, like I want to hear the wails and I want to, see all the gay stuff. I might change my tune when I'm in it watching it, but I am so anyway. Right now, Freddy's Revenge is over Freddy versus Jason. Then above that is Dream Master. Then
Mm,
above that is Dream Child, number five.
mm.
Then above that is Origino. And then at the top, I think I already expressed this when we discussed Dream Warriors, is Dream Warriors for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about
Yeah.
you?
Um, well, interestingly, I had already, I guess, ranked the whole franchise on Letterboxd a while
Ooh.
ago. But I was re-ranking the other franchises like we just did Friday the 13th last week. So I've just been sort of ranking them with where we're at. So I just had the six plus Freddy versus Jason.
Okay.
But this I just had the full thing. So I hadn't, I guess, started re-ranking them. But
Hmm.
in my head, I'd already like decided, and then I went and looked at it. And I'm like, no, this is exactly the same. So I won't reveal. I mean, if you want to go look at my letterbox, you can see on the list. But I'll just for the purposes of this and the ones we've covered, at the bottom is this for right now of the six plus Freddy versus Jason that we've covered. So Freddy's Dead is absolutely a huge disappointment for me. Above that, I would say Dream Child.
Mm.
Even though like I think that the art direction is stupendous.
Right.
I think it's some of the most beautiful that we've seen. I just find the movie so incredibly dour and boring.
Hmm.
So above that, ironically, is Freddy versus Jason, which I think at least
Wow.
gets some excitement of. And it's things are bad when Freddy versus Jason is higher than
For you,
several.
yes.
Yeah, for me. Above that would be Freddy's Revenge, so Nightmare 2.
Mm.
Above that is Dream Master. Above that is the original, and then above that is Dream Warriors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, Rachel Talalay would probably be bummed to hear that she's beneath because her whole intention with this piece, once she had solidified her position as director,
Mhm.
because Bob Shea, the producer, and the head of
Yeah.
New Line at the time, he had just done his first cinematic turn as a director. And she said, now's a good time to ask him because I've been here forever. He knows me, he trusts me, and he can't be like, well, I can be a first-time director, but you can't. But the whole intention was she thought that five was actually kind of morose and, well, not, she didn't use the word morose, but just, very, very dark, bleak. And she loved the gothic design that Stephen Hopkins instilled in it, but she wanted to get into a more kind of like, ironically enough, carnival atmosphere. And she was
Yeah.
influenced by Twin Peaks and Carnival of Souls, interestingly enough.
There
When she
was a Twin
putting this movie
Peaks
together.
reference, and this did come out in
Yeah.
91, which would have been
Hmm.
like peak Twin Peaks
Yeah. She was
era.
a
But
fan. She was a fan.
I do have something to say on that, but I just want to read some of the
Ooh,
responses of ranking.
yes.
So Amethyst Frost is saying bottoms up, Freddy's dead, Dream Child, Dream Master, Freddy's
Ooh,
Revenge, Dream Warriors original. So it's just like
wow.
it just goes in order except for Dream Warriors
No
being
Freddy
ahead
versus
of
Jason?
Freddy versus Jason is not included on this.
Okay.
Or later on he is saying I always forget FVJ. That would be above this one, but not Dream Child. So
Okay.
yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
Interesting.
Um, Eric is asking, what about New Nightmare? Like, hello, we haven't
We haven't
covered it
done it
yet.
yet.
No spoilers. We don't, haven't seen it. Um, jokes. Grant MC, I've actually had my comments on cherry picker polls apparently not post due to death to X phrasing on occasion, and then post just fine without it. Yeah, like who knows? Who knows what the standards and policies.
Can't anticipate it at all.
Um, let's see. Craig is saying worst to best Nightmare 6. Five,
Mm.
2, 3, 4, 1.
2, 3, 4, 1.
Uh,
Wow. Okay.
Eric is saying Dream Warriors, original New Nightmare, Freddy's Revenge, and then blah blah blah. I
The rest doesn't matter.
Grant, I think my ranking from favorite to least is so we're going in
Yeah.
descending order. The Dream Master original, Freddy's Revenge, tie between Dream Warriors and Dream Child, and then
Wow.
Freddy's Dead, and bottom is Freddy versus Jason.
Wow.
Clark, most of the time I'll just put on the Dream Trilogy, Warriors, Master, and Child.
Mm. Yeah, that was my trilogy for a while too. Yeah.
Garrison, I only like New Nightmare, Original, Dream Warriors, and FVJ.
Mm. Okay.
Mark Craney, Dream Warriors. Oh, so I guess this is in descending order. Dream Warriors, OG. I'm assuming. Oh yeah, it's his favorite to least.
Okay.
Um, Dream Warriors, OG, Freddy's Revenge, Dream Master, Freddy versus Jason, Dream Child, Freddy's Dead. So this one is not faring too well.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, what I was going to say is to what you had said is sort of the trajectory of this franchise in
Mhm.
like post Dream Warriors, because Dream Master came out and it was very and we talked about this in that episode, but shall we say accessible? Like it was, geared towards like the MTV
Yeah.
era. It felt very much like an every slasher horror movie. It feels the most removed from A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm.
For me, in terms of just like the characters and just like the themes and everything, it just seemed to be more about uh, the typical formula that you would find in a lot of teen slasher movies of the time.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know if like creatively when they did five, it was sort of like let's just like ground it a little bit more. Let's make it darker. Let's make it more serious. So they sort of took it from that direction of just being like really fun and exciting to the gothic style of that movie, which like I said, I personally found a little boring. And
Mm.
then with this one, it felt like it was almost like, okay, we went too far in this direction with 4, we went too far in this direction with 5. So let's try to like find a balance, and it feels like they're trying to emulate the success of Dream Warriors. Like like we have this set in a halfway house, so
Mhm.
kind of similar to the hospital setting of 3, and
Mhm.
we're bringing back this idea like this the Yaphet Kotto's character of like this sleep doctor, and just like how they're introducing like the therapy sessions and all that. So it felt like they were trying to delve back into that, but it feels again like it just like the franchise just vacillated way too much back and forth to all these different areas. And this one to me always feels like a greatest hits, but all of the allusions or homages or whatever are just
Yeah.
like it's just weaker versions of what has already been done successfully.
Mm. I mean, I can't disagree with that. That said, I do think some of the little nods and references, and even dare we even say homages, some work better than others. Like some of them I didn't even notice any of the previous screenings that I've had, and I've seen this movie many times. And this particular screening, there were we'll get to them, but there were like a couple things that jumped out where it's just kind of like, oh, that's a nice little thing. A nice little, like tip of the hat to something that came before. And then there were other things where I'm just kind of like, yeah, that doesn't work this time.
Mhm.
So, but I mean, thing is, Rachel Talalay as director, she had been with this, I think as early as part 3. I believe she was the line producer, I want to say, on that one. And continued to be in like either a production accountant. She was always involved in behind the scenes production in some fashion. And I remember Robert Englund in interviews even saying like you could always tell the days she was on set because crafty was better, like the food that you
Oh
the
God.
spread that they have for you to like eat and everything. Like she always seemed to have everybody's back, seemed to have a real passion about like you know bringing the pack together to like be goal oriented, like towards like producing this piece. And she had been like that on John Waters sets too, because her first job in film, I believe, was as a PA, a production assistant for anybody who's not in the industry, on Polyester, his film with Divine, back in the early 1980s. So, and then she ended up producing Crybaby and Hairspray for him, and I think that was it. But
Mm.
and then she's
How
become a
is
director in her own
Crybaby?
right. This is the thing, Crybaby. It won't play as well now because it's Hairspray was about racism and but in a playful way. Crybaby was about classism, but in a playful way. But the problem is the people who we're supposed to be rooting for are running around with a Confederate flag, you know,
So,
and
well, like,
so
then is Crybaby kind of like Dirty Dancing? Isn't that about
uh,
classism?
kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, that's funny. I've actually never never made that parallel before in my life. It's more, I mean, like Johnny Depp is just kind of like the king of the outsiders.
Yeah.
And the reason he ended up getting that part, I believe, is because like, they had already seen him on television and everything, but like they had gotten a referral from Wes Craven. I
Yeah.
think John Waters did, and he was just kind of like, "Oh, you like working with him? Yeah, he seems like a nice guy. I think I'll have him in my movie." But
Yeah. How
yeah,
did he
he's
get
so
the cameo in this film?
well, he's family.
Yeah.
Like Rachel knew him, and
I guess more so let me rephrase that. Like, why did he take it? Like, I get like this is 91, so I don't know where he was in his career at that point.
oh, okay.
That he
No,
was
that
still like,
that
yeah.
it was purely like a case of like family making a phone call and saying like, "Would you do this? Because I think the crew would really appreciate it, and we'd really, the studio would really appreciate it." And he's like, "Of course, you were my first break, and you're the reason I have a career."
Mhm.
And he also knew Rachel Talalay from Crybaby, but also all of the cameos, because we also got like Roseanne and Tom Arnold in it. We've got Divine was supposed to be in it when John Doe is on the plane in the very beginning, and he's seated next to um, the woman who tells him, "Don't be such a pussy." Um, that was supposed to be Divine in
Mhm.
drag, telling him that, but I
So,
believe Divine had passed away by that
okay,
point.
so the flight attendant, at first I thought, is that Heather Langenkamp? It's not, but there was
No,
like there was something about her. I was just like, wait, is it Heather's in this? I don't remember that. But
that
it's
would have
no,
been
it's not.
hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would have been amazing just seeing her like dressed up as a we don't use the word stewardess anymore. Flight attendant. Um,
Steward,
Steward!
stewardess,
Steward!
steward.
From Mad TV.
Yeah.
Ow! But no, but the whole reason that there were even cameos in this movie is because Rachel Talalay loved the cameos that she had
Yeah.
in the John Waters movies that she'd worked on. She wanted to kind of bring that again to infuse it with fun and make it feel a little bit more like a rollicking romp.
Yeah.
She thought like if people can go, hey, they might be more inclined to smile and enjoy themselves, which is an
Mm.
odd. Again, what the way you laid it out, like about like the kind of zigzag about like going far in one direction and then going far in another direction, and this being an attempt to course correct, but it's also the final chapter. You'd think they might want to bring it back to the feel of the original, where Freddy's certainly playful, but certainly scary, which is one thing he's
Mhm.
definitely not in this movie.
Well, yeah, this one gets a lot of I guess, flack for the comedy of it because it's very like it's been compared to Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Very like Coyote Roadrunner, just like I mean the
Hmm.
him going through the wall of like day into night and just like the cutout of the person there and of course like pushing the spikes onto the road and like
Yeah.
all these things like it's very silly and I don't know if like Looney Tunes was just because Looney Tunes has been around forever, but if it was like had some sort of resurgence back in the early 90s. When did Space Jam come out? That was like mid 90s, right?
I feel like that might have been, what was it, 96, 97? Maybe somebody can
I
look it
think
up and confirm. Was it
earlier.
earlier? Was it even earlier
I
than
think
that?
it must have been 95,
I
but
still to this day have not seen Space Jam. That was more my sister's thing. But
okay.
yeah. But yeah, no, I don't but I mean, it was always I mean, I got it. I being, a kid who grew up in the 80s,
Yeah.
saw the Bugs and Tweety show on Saturday
Yeah.
mornings. And then I know Tiny Toon Adventures and Animaniacs was big in the 90s,
Well,
so
Amethyst to the rescue here. Space Jam
yeah.
was 96. Tiny Toons
Hey.
was 91. I
Yeah.
remember Tiny Toons quite vividly. Like all
Hmm.
those, like Animaniacs as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it's Nickelodeon took over later on, and it was like Rugrats. I love Rugrats.
Me
I've been seeing a lot
too.
of Rugrats clips on Instagram that this
Oh.
account will post just like these scenes, and it just like Angelica is amazing because she's sort of like the I guess the Joan Collins of the show, if you like, or the Heather Locklear, whatever, the bitch
Yes,
of the
she is.
Rugrats,
The
and
resident
just
bitch.
such a great character.
Yeah,
She's amazing. We love her,
we
but
do.
yeah, just this definitely has influences of Tiny Toons or Looney Tunes in general.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned Halloween Ends earlier. I think you mentioned it while we were recording. We might have talked about it as well in the pre-show
Yes.
of the live stream here. But this, as I was watching this last night, it was kind of giving me a Halloween Ends vibe in a sense that like we had a very solid trajectory over the first five movies. I think two is the only one that really strayed in
Yeah.
terms of like character and story. It was made known to us that this was the same universe and that like is it Jesse had moved into Nancy's house and found her
Sure.
diary and all that. But from three, four, and five, like there's connective tissue. We go from
Yes.
Nancy to Kirsten to Alice, and suddenly here we are, just like, no, we're gonna do like new characters. And really like Freddy is the only connective tissue here.
Yes.
And it's like you mentioned Corey, and I feel like, I mean, I guess you could look at John Doe or Maggie slash Catherine as being the Corey Cunningham here, just like this new character like forget Nancy,
Right.
forget Kristen, forget Alice. It's
Hmm.
always been about Maggie. She's been the main character, just waiting in the wings this entire time, and she's finally emerged 6 movies in
Yeah.
as the hero, and they're just like I hate it, because here's a character that has nothing to do. It just feels so like last minute shoehorned in. You know what I mean?
I mean, I understand completely. That's how I felt. And even with the casting, it's nothing against Lisa Zane, but it's a lot to put on the shoulders of an actor to carry the kind of weight that it looks like they want her to, for it to feel like she's the one who finally undoes him and everything like that. And nothing about that character's trajectory just in this isolated chapter. Really, the best I can say is, oh, I feel kind of bad for her, you know? Like, I mean, she had to watch her mother get killed, and then she had to like that little girl who plays her when she's young. I wrote down the actress's name because I think I mentioned this when we watched Silent Night, Deadly Night. She
Yeah.
reminds me of the little girl who lets him into the orphanage at the end of the movie. She goes, Santa Claus. And she looks exactly, it's not the same girl, couldn't be, because I think too much time would have passed. I think there's
Well,
about
it's
like
like
a difference of like
seven
n-
years. Yeah.
or so, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So it was just like it couldn't happen. But what's her damn little, oh, Cassandra Friel, the little girl who plays
Mm.
tiny, I even forget her real name. Like what, Catherine is his daughter's name? Is that her name?
Yes,
Yeah, because
because
I
there's a
was just,
K. Yeah.
yeah. That's right. Okay, I always just think of her as Maggie, if I think of her at all. But
Yeah.
she she's very, very sweet, and she really commits with the crying and everything like that, just letting the tears flow, going, I won't tell. And even before that, she shares a kind of ethereal quality with Lisa Zane. They both kind of seem to have this weird, it's not a vacant look in the eyes, it's just kind of like a roaming openness. Like they're just kind of like feeling things out and just absorbing things. So I can appreciate that. But the thing is, like, that's pretty much it. As a character, she spent most of the movie, if we're going to jump, you know, like to the big
Well,
reveal. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows. Huh?
I mean, we should probably go over a little bit of housekeeping, and then you can do a synopsis, because we like to maintain some form of structure
Yeah, we
here.
really dove in. We're so ready to talk about this one, guys.
Um, but yeah, hey, welcome to the Cherry Picker. If you're new here, or if you've been listening for a while, you can be more immersed in the experience of the podcast by heading over to patreon.com/Zach Cherry, which is me, ZACKCHERRY. And if you subscribe at the Freddy Krueger tier, ironically, which is $5 a month, you will have access to our live stream recording. So as you will notice, if you are watching, we've got the chat going in the middle here. Everyone's chiming in about their opinions and disagreeing with us where they can. For instance, Grant Dempsey saying, "Nah, this has got to be Nightmare's resurrection, not its ends." So if if you want to push back against us, this is the perfect opportunity to do that. You can head over
Absolutely.
there and give back a little to the podcast and also be part of it. On top of
Yeah.
that, you will also get the opportunity to nominate and vote for the movie slash subject that we cover at the end of the month. So this will be next week. This month it has the poll's not finished, but I'm calling it. So next week's episode will be, and Eddie, you're finding this out for the first time as well.
Yeah.
Uh, the best kills per horror movie franchise.
How many?
I think just the most popular ones.
Okay.
We're not gonna delve into every
We'll narrow it down to
franchise.
like a
You know, like
top
the
10,
top
top 5,
10
top 10 or 5. Okay.
franchise. We'll
Top
figure it
10.
out. But
Okay.
yeah. So
10's
that
a
will
nice round number. Let's do that.
yeah, and that was nominated by Eric Champney, my co-writer,
Hey!
co-director on Macabre.
Oh my God. Fun. Macabre.
So Macabre. So yeah, the best kills per horror franchise. So really exciting. You can nominate and vote for, any movie that you want us to cover. So there's a lot of interactive possibility there. I do want to thank some top tier Patreon supporters. So thank you to my Michael Myers supporters, Kyle Beard, Ali Hamouche, Shane Ellingham, Tim McKay, Stephanie Starbright, Horror Slut 95, Traj 125, Bruce, the Genetic Jackhammer Rando, Michael Boswell, and Ghostfaces, Eric Champney, Sam Levy, Daniel Saturn, Baby Ghoul, Garrison Nichols, and Craig Lynn. Many of whom are with us right now. Thank you to all of you all. Thank you to everybody. Thank you for watching and participating in the cherry picker polls every week and all that. So, first question: do we have a synopsis for
Oh,
Freddy's Expired?
a premise, yes. It's pretty basic, but yeah, here. And it actually doesn't reveal much, but here you go. Just regular, traditional noise.
Yeah.
Okay. Dream haunting Freddy Krueger returns once again to prowl the nightmares of Springwood's last surviving teenager and to bait someone whose personal connection to Krueger may mean at last Freddy's dead. The final nightmare.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, I don't have much
Where
voice left. Sorry.
where
And
can this
if you haven't watched it already, if you haven't done your
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 homework
your homework for the night,
studies?
if you haven't completed your studies, your preliminary studies to this class is what this is. Then you actually, it's currently not streaming on any subscription platform, but you can find it on your favorite rental platform to stream. And it's also available in the collection, which I think Zach and I have the same one.
Yes, I have that one.
Yeah. The one with Freddy
Is
peeking out.
there not a 4K box set coming out imminently?
Not yet. I've been looking and there's no
Yeah.
news of it. They better, I don't know what the duration of time was between the the Friday the 13th box and, the Halloween 4Ks that are
Mm.
coming out. So maybe they're
There's
working on it. I hope it's the next.
there's new Halloween 4Ks?
Well, I mean, not the new ones, but they're new for me. But like the Halloween 4K Blu-ray editions that have like, the combos with like everything in them, and it has like the 3-pack with Curse and H2O and
Oh,
Resurrection.
right,
Those.
yes.
Yes. No, Nightmare, it's basically just this release. They did do a reissue of it with a lenticular cover that's Freddy's face in 2019.
Mm.
That's the most recent release that is a region code that you and I can look at. I don't usually look at region B and C and whatever else they got going on. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I always wanted there was a DVD box set.
Oh,
Back the
the
New
New Line
Line
Platinum series.
The Platinum
Yes.
series. It was kind of like a brownish gold
Yes.
looking thing, and then there was like the spines of the
Hmm.
cases formed an image. Which do you have it?
I don't have the whole box. I have the bonus, which is out of
Oh,
print. I found it at Amoeba. I can't tell what it's in frame, but anyway, yeah, I
yeah.
have. It's called the Nightmare Series Encyclopedia, and on the spine you can barely see the elbow of Freddy because here is it in frame? Because when you turned the box so that you could, like the side where you can see the spines of all of the DVDs, it has Freddy from the back with his, I believe his glove behind his back, and
Right.
it's not quite a silhouette. It's just all that kind of copper outline, and then the rest of it's just shadow. It's just, oh, it's gorgeous. And it was a really good release at the time. Now all of those or most of those special features have gone onto the Blu-ray release that you and
Right.
I have. The only thing they're missing is you can go in the encyclopedia, you can go through a maze, and you can
Right.
see all, I believe, three alternative endings, which I still have yet to see all
For
three.
Freddy's Dead?
For the first one,
Oh,
sorry.
oh, for the first.
I should have
I think I've
clarified.
seen most of, like, where's the happy one? Where it's just like, bye.
Yeah, there's the happy one. There's the one where Freddy is driving. He's in the car. And
Yeah.
then there's another one that I don't remember what it is. So yeah, even
Yeah.
today I'm still
I feel
catching
like
up.
they're all similar. They're all same,
Yeah,
same.
yeah.
Uh,
It's not like it ever ended completely differently. It's just kind of like a tonal change. You know,
yeah. Yeah.
sometimes mom gets pulled through the window, sometimes she doesn't.
The I mean, I would upgrade this to a 4K, but
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is I mean, so if you haven't been able to tell, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned this on previous Nightmare episodes, is
Hmm.
that I mean, this franchise is not really one of my favorites, the same way that it is for you. Having said that, like for me, it is 1, 3, New Nightmare, the Nancy trilogy, or the Heather
Okay.
trilogy, or the Wes Craven
Yeah.
trilogy. You know what,
Mm.
if you please. And I think that in terms of those are all like top tier. Those it's just a fantastic run of movies, and that is my Nightmare on Elm Street. Like I don't really care for the other stuff in between, in
Oh,
betwixt those
yes.
movies. So I think that like it's the same thing for me and like the Halloween franchise. Like the first seven,
Hmm.
amazing, and then everything after that, I'm just like, eh. Uh, Friday the 13th, I think I like the first five and then seven and the remake, but other than that, it's just like, eh. But I was wondering, like, is that just because like this is a shorter franchise? Like, it's just this be like, I mean, even if you look at New Nightmare as the end, that means that there hasn't really been any new content, Freddy versus Jason and the remake notwithstanding,
Hmm.
in over 30 years now.
Yeah.
And it's almost like if they had gone on and made more, which might have even gotten like worse and worse, would I have had a different perspective and been like, oh, the first seven Nightmare movies are amazing, and then everything after that is is bad. You know what I
I
mean?
I think that's what Bob Shea wanted to avoid. He
Yeah.
had very publicly come forward as they were releasing these and said that they will never release, like basically, to quote Corky St. Clair from Waiting for Guffman, a stinky product. He always wanted them to deliver quality films to their audiences.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he said this before or after two, which I enjoy, but I mean, but when I think quality, like like it's got a quality.
After Freddy's Revenge too?
I'm wondering if he said it after Freddy's Revenge to kind of like say like we will no longer release, or if he just boldly said it
Yeah.
after the release of the first movie. I don't know, but he said it at some point. He made a pledge to the fans that they will only release
Yeah.
quality sequels, and when they just what's the word I'm looking for? Just just like completely sped through the entire process to release five the same year they released four, and to make
Hmm.
it the same year that they released four. It
No, I
was
thought it came
like,
out four is 88, five is 89.
well, it was less than a year's time had
Oh,
passed. Like
okay.
it's a different year, but it's like I think they were like 9 months apart or
So
something like
like
that.
Scream to Scream 2.
Kind of, but this
Yeah.
is the thing. Like, um, he himself felt like it was. I think he's called it. He's gone on record to call it notably lame. Part five. And
Yeah.
so he wanted to deliver something again that was going to pack a punch and that was going to satisfy the fans and just kind of reward them for their fandom, but also
Yeah.
that wouldn't dig the hole any deeper. I think he really didn't want any fans to be able to say, like, I like him up until this point. And ironically enough, when they released this movie, we look at how many people this is at the bottom of their rankings, me included.
Yeah.
Then the only thing that's lower than this for me is the remake. So it's only been
I
diminishing
agree with
returns. And,
that. Yeah.
but I do have to say, like, we won't linger on it, but with the remake, I did rewatch it recently. I do watch it once a year to once every other year, and every time I do, I don't go in thinking this is the time it's going to be, but I do go walk in like it's a puzzle, like just looking for, like, okay, where what were the strengths and what were the pluses and what were the minuses, and the minuses always outweigh the pluses for me, but the thing is, the pluses kind of become clearer for me the more I watch the movie. The more I'm just kind of like, oh, you know what they should have done, they should have gone this way. And then I heard Kyle Gallner talk about making the movie, and it was a completely different script that he signed on to than when he got
Yeah.
onto the set of that remake. So anyway, this
That
movie
happens.
this movie, speaking of
Yeah.
drafts, there was it Amethyst who said that that they had
I
read
believe you. So
the,
yeah.
yeah, the OG one. I haven't heard about that one in particular, and because it was apparently Allison. Um, oh God, what's her son's name? God, my memory just
Jacob?
sucks. Jacob, yes, thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
Welcome.
I know that they were always trying to put them back into the franchise with Freddy versus Jason. I had never heard about, like, the sequel actually being a draft with the two of them. I'd only heard about Peter
Mm.
Jackson's script. So did Amethyst write anything about that?
It was there, but it's like way up in the chat.
Oh,
So,
okay. Sorry,
if
Amethyst.
Amethyst cares to reshare,
To copy and paste.
we
Just
can
copy and
address
paste,
that.
Amethyst. But
Copy and
anyway,
paste.
but what I've heard of is that Peter Jackson actually had been tapped to share a script that he was working on. He had an idea with his collaborator Danny Mullerin, and this one sounds interesting. Tell me if this interests you at all, because it was about a tired uh, figure of Freddy who was basically like a shroud of what he once was, where people still remember him, but they're no longer afraid of him. So he can't feed off of their fear, so he can't gain any power, and he can't even, since he can't scare them, he can't kill them. He can't get them vulnerable enough to a point where he can kill them. So he's become a joke to the point where kids are taking sleeping pills so they can go off into the dream realm and just basically hate crime him, like, just to taunt him, just to be like and essentially what ends up happening is he inadvertently, almost accidentally, kind of like gets a hold of a kid and just barely kills him and absorbs his soul, gets a little bit of power, and then starts the engine going again. But because
Mm.
that's all he needs is like one soul to start snowballing. And basically at the same time all that is going on, there's a cop who is unconscious, I guess in the line of fire or in the line of duty, has gone into a coma. So he's in a perpetual dream state, and he and Freddy, I guess, are to go toe to toe. That's all I
It
know about that draft.
it almost like sounds like just the setup. It was almost presenting Freddy as more sympathetic. Like
Yeah, right?
he's being victimized by children
Yeah.
now.
To the point
Almost
we're
like
almost
do you
rooting for
remember
him to come back and kill.
do you remember the Don't Breathe franchise? Like they made a
Yeah.
sequel to that because the first
Hmm.
one it was just like the blind man was like so obviously the villain, and then they made a sequel, and then suddenly they like shifted the perspective, and now he was like
Right.
this sympathetic hero.
Oh God.
Um, yeah, and there hasn't been a new movie in that franchise since.
No.
But Amethyst is saying that the original Nightmare 6 script was written by Michael Almereyda,
Okay.
based on Rachel Talalay's outline. Jacob was the main
Mm.
character, and Alice was the opening kill, basically. Oh, they Adrian Kinged her.
No.
They Ellie Cornell's. They what's the one who plays the nurse Marion?
Shit, you would know better than I do. You know my
Oh,
memory is
Nancy Stevens
Nancy Stevens.
her.
Yes, they Nancy Stevens her.
They well, not Danielle Harris, but they Jamie
No.
Lloyded her.
Yes, they
But
and they even christened her like in this to stick
but
to this franchise.
Kristen like made it
She'd
further
go
into
like,
the
Jacob, you'll
yeah.
need my power, while somebody else
Yeah.
plays her.
Anyway, Alice was the opening Adrian King.
Okay,
Basically,
damn.
Kincaid, Joey, and Taryn from Dream Warriors were back as the Dream Police,
Oh,
and Jacob died at the very end. His girlfriend Karen was the final girl.
so Taryn
Um,
didn't die.
Taryn, no, they're dead. They're the Dream Police. Their souls are policing
Oh,
the Dream World.
okay. Oh, so kind of
Karen,
like what
Karen is the
Nancy.
final girl.
Kind of like what Nancy, not
Yeah.
Nancy Stevens, but what Nancy Thompson ended up being in the
Yeah.
comics, where she was kind of like a dream avenger, like a dream
Yeah.
angel who could like come in and help kids and empower them. Yeah.
A
Okay.
dream weaver,
Dream Weaver. Yeah.
if you will. Yes, his girlfriend Karen was the final girl. Rachel Talalay hated the script and wanted the more Twin Peaks direction of the
Sure.
released film, which is so funny because like when I think of Twin Peaks, and I did like a rewatch of Twin Peaks, like the original series, and then I watched Fire Walk with Me. And I
Sure.
started to watch The Return, and I was just like, I don't have the bandwidth for this right now. And that was several months ago, so I have to like find my way back into it.
Me too. Yeah.
But Twin Peaks, like, it has a lot of like quirky comedy to it,
It does.
more so like the series, but the comedy, like comparatively to what we're seeing here, like we've already described as this Looney Tunes, is just not it.
No.
So maybe like more like, and even then, like on a supernatural level, Twin Peaks was always very muddled.
Mhm.
Because a lot of it was just sort of Kyle MacLachlan coming in, and he was sort of like this outsider who had all these like crazy theories about shit, and the local police and everyone just sort of like looked at him
Yeah.
like, oh, that's a neat theory. But then as like the series unfolded, it was just like, oh, maybe there's some merit to
Yeah.
what he's saying, and this like things started to get weirder over time. So I couldn't see how Twin Peaks would be applied to this. Like I feel like
Yeah.
like the idea of like the Nightmare on Elm Street IP and Twin Peaks as an IP are just like two completely separate things, and you can't really meld them together. So I feel like she was just taking a huge swing with like wanting to do something Twin Peaks-esque, and it's just
Yeah.
like it's not even close to it. I think the most Twin Peaks it gets is like the literal reference of, was it like Brecken Meyer who says like this
One of
is
them
like
says, yeah.
Twin Peaks, and I'm just thinking like, okay, these kids would not be watching Twin Peaks. Um,
I think Tracy would, but no, I get what you're saying though. Like I agree. Again, like because she wanted it to be a combination of Twin Peaks and Carnival of Souls, and the only time I get Carnival of Souls is when we're at the literal carnival, which is where the Twin Peaks reference is
Roseanne,
made.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of like, and the only reason it feels even remotely close to either of those is just because it's a little off kilter, and because you don't quite know what's going on. And I think the ambiguity is probably the thing, because the thing is, you do have a question mark over your head when you're watching Twin Peaks most of the time. But it's interesting you bring up Kyle MacLachlan, because he was a huge part of what was missing for me from this movie as well, which was just kind of like, because one of the things that I love about his character also is his investment in the town, and his just kind of like the fact that he, like when he's drinking his coffee, and the fact that he seems to kind of like revel in the old timiness, like the hearth and the warmth of this old Americana that's still
Yeah.
intact in this town, and it's been perverted by a murder. So he's also defending something. I don't, there's again a sliver of that in this movie, like the theatrical release, the final product that we got. But I just feel like they were too concentrated on having Freddie be kind of lighter than he was which is again,
Yeah.
he has a sense of humor, but he is not a light character. Like even in four, when he's having fun putting on the shades and everything like that, he still wants to kill a kid.
Yeah.
He's not delighting in the fact that he's creating that he can look at all these different hats I can wear. One minute I'm the Wicked Witch of the West, the next minute I'm playing with power and all that
Hmm.
shit. I mean, it's so
Yeah.
not connected to the Wes Craven child molester killer
Hmm.
that that was the inception of this entire this entire
Yeah.
franchise. So
I
I
wonder,
yeah.
it makes me like think like of Robert Englund, like how much creative control did he have? Because it just seems like he just sort of was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Like, not being cognizant of like saying like, well, this isn't the character.
Mm.
Was that a thing that ever came up?
It was, but and I know particularly early on, like from the get-go when they came back for Freddy's Revenge, I know there were
Hmm.
instances where they would be on set and he'd be moving through it, glad that they brought him back, but also being like, this just doesn't feel right. And
Hmm.
trying to find ways to, and I think he does this in every installment. I think he does it in this one too. Finds moments, like little things, like for me and like two, a big part of it is just like running his thumb along the lips of Jesse, like, and just running the knives like close.
Hmm.
So he's, just kind of like showing the danger, but also this weird temptation and seduction that's going on with them. And then with this movie, I think an example for me, let's just get to it.
Hmm.
I feel like they have the wrong final girl in this movie. Because the final girl is Maggie because she's the one who has the final standoff, and everybody else, Yaphet Kotto and Tracy, are stuck behind. Yaphet Kotto is Doc in the movie, so I'll just call them my character names. Doc and Tracy are stuck behind bars. They're throwing knives to her, trying to tell her, "Watch out!" Maggie, and whatever. But really, it's her doing battle with Freddy. And it's this bond that, yes, we've watched the trauma, and yes, I feel bad for the little girl, but I'm so disconnected from it because I just don't think it's executed in the most effective way, where I find a father-daughter connection that is actually more kind of pertinent to the franchise is the one between Tracy and her father, and the fact that Freddy, in her nightmare that he crafts for her, embodies, like, wears her father like a mask and just wants to rekindle all the trauma that she's associated with, like her upbringing. And there's something about that I actually find so much more scintillating as a moviegoer, to see this man who victimized all of these children, whether you want to believe he was just a killer or whether you want to believe he was, doing things beyond that while they were still alive, which I do. Because there's always a weird, sexual element hanging in the air with him. But with so to have a girl who was victimized in, the sanctity of her home, and for him to just, if the two of them were to go toe to toe, it'd be like watching Predator and past Prey, like newly realized kind of like self-embodied warrior. And we get a sliver of it in her nightmare when she just takes the coffee can of all things and just starts whipping the shit out of her dream father. And then she just throws it away and just sits there and just tells herself, "You're not real, you're dead. You're not alive, you're dead, you're dead." And I'm just like, see, this is your movie. But again, it's dark. I don't know how you make
Hmm.
light of that, but I think it's the thing that has the strongest core to it as far as an arc for this movie. And I'm so much more interested in watching, even when she's learning about Freddy, when she's sitting there like trying to defend herself, and Doc is like holding her punching bag, and he's talking to her, he's like coaching her while she's doing it, and he's like, "Hey, take it easy." And she's like, "But I got to defend myself." And he says, "He's gonna go for your mind. He's gonna go for what you're afraid of." Again, if we could get more of that, more of like adults empowering these kids, like that's what attracted me so much to Dream Warriors. I feel
Hmm.
like there's a better movie there and a better ending chapter to who could ultimately undo Freddy, is someone who was once a victim who is now gets to put the final spike in him. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
No, I agree. I mean, I don't really have any connection to Tracy as a character because I just feel like in terms of like all the characters here, they feel very stock ish to me. Like, kind
Mm-hmm.
of the way that like the ones in five did as well.
Mm.
But even more so. The thing that I kind of noticed on the rewatch that I did last night. Like this is 89 minutes long, I believe.
Yeah,
It feels like 2 hours,
it
which
does.
is not a good thing. The
Mhm.
thing is, it starts off very fast paced. Like we are moving through it very quickly. And as it gets more towards like the midpoint and the end, it really slows down.
Mhm.
And it kind of reminds me of those like ads that you're when you're playing like a game or something on like an app and like the ad pops up and there's like the progress or like the status
Sure.
bar showing how much longer you have to watch of this ad and it's moving really fast and you're like, "Oh, thank God this thing is going to be gone in a second." And
Yeah.
as it gets to like the halfway point, it just that status bar starts slowing down and it just gradually becomes slower and slower as you get to the end to the point where it's like moving like a snail. And that's how I felt with this. I think the best part of the movie is the opening. I think like all the
Mm.
like the dream that he's having up until like him getting like thrown through that wall of like night into day
Oh.
is the most entertaining part of the movie. Like I even though it's stupid and like Freddy is like the Wicked Witch of the West
Right.
and the bus and all that, it
Mhm.
still is engaging and it was entertaining to me. And
Sure.
then the movie still like it's almost moving too quickly. Like we're introduced to all these characters. I feel like it's not really giving them time to breathe
Mhm.
in a way. I one thing I noticed when Maggie is introduced.
Mhm.
And I just, had watched Friday the 13th 1 and 2, because we, had our Friday, June 13th. So I wanted to brush up on them. And we talked about this before and how in like the original Friday, Alice kind of, it's a movie that like there's so many characters, but you're not really sure who the main character is because we spend so much time with Annie at a
Mhm.
certain point. But then we sort of like decidedly know that Alice is our final girl because she gets this like close up. When Steve is like, "Alice," and she's like coming, and then she's just like saying something random, but we have this like
Yeah.
close up, and it's just like the first time we've had a close up on a character, and it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, that's how you know she's the final girl, or even like Ginny in two with her whole bit, like showing up. There's just something that sort of set her apart. And here, like
Yeah.
Maggie comes in, we're in the throes of this argument. I mean, it's not even an argument. It's just like Brecken's, is it
Check it.
Spencer?
Yeah. Spencer is Breckenmeyer's
Spen
role. Yeah.
Brecken's dad, just like yelling at him about something and yada yada yada. And
Yeah.
then he's leaves and he like bumps into Maggie coming in. This is the first time we see her. And it's this two shot, but it's like the way it's framed, like she's almost got her back to the camera.
Yeah.
So we're not seeing her, and this is like her first line. And it's like he's just like, "Great job you're doing on my son here." And she's like, "He's not a Toyota." But we don't even see her. We just see her the back of her. She's wearing sunglasses. And then we go to like a reverse mid and she comes in. We're not even like I think she finally takes off her glasses, but it's just like I don't feel like this is a significant character the way that she's
No.
being set up. There's like she's not coming into this and it's not until like I think she's in the room with John Doe and they're having their conversation like okay, I guess she's more relevant to this. But it just felt like every character was just sort of like thrown in there like they're doing the things like it's just the script is doing the script, but there was no intention behind the direction or the shots to really emphasize any of these characters. So when they're talking about like I guess their scheme, they're gonna like break out of their like whatever they do, they end up like being in the van where everyone kind of coalesces together or just these
Mhm.
storylines coalesce and they're in Springwood it starts, but everything is moving very quickly. It's just
Mhm.
nothing is really registering. You know what I mean?
I do because for me it wasn't the halfway point. It was I literally checked the timestamp. It was the 53-minute mark was where I started to realize like I don't know where we are in the movie. Like it feels like we're close to the end. I don't even remember what happens at that mark. But I remember
Yeah.
I was just kind of like I wonder how much movie there is left because it felt like maybe about 10 minutes had gone by. And then I looked and realized it was 53, and I'm like, oh, that should be good. Okay, so I'm not bored, but I'm also not really any more invested in these people at 53 minutes than I was at like 23 minutes. So it also just kind of made itself into this like what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, like this time warp that I just kind of fell into, where I was just watching things happen. I was watching people do things. And again, I've seen this movie before, but I'm like watching them get confused every time the van keeps, trying to take a detour, like turn this direction, turn that direction, go straight ahead, and they keep ending up in a loop in the same, place. And I just remember it being so much more effective. That was one thing with the time loop, the way it was established in Alice's dream in Dream Master, when I'm driving and she gets into the car with Danny and she keeps turning the corner and getting in the car and driving away. I think we've had this conversation before. I remember that feeling so much sharper when I was a kid, and it's still, when I watch it, I'm just kind of like, well done. I watch this and I'm just kind of like, I like these kids so much more than than the movie's kind of like allowing me to. Because Spencer's fine, like he's a tiny little lovable stoner. I always like a stoner, but the ones that I really like are Carlos and Tracy, but I like the three of them together. I don't really care a shit about John Doe. I remember the first time I saw the movie, I was watching it with my sister, the VHS that we rented, and I just remember we didn't know what to expect, but we're just going to watch it and just take what comes. And, we are talking the whole time. And it's one of the first interactions he has after he makes his way out of Springwood. And he's talking to Maggie, and she's just like, what does she ask him? Who are you? She just asks him, like, what's your name, or who are you, or something like that. And his response is, I don't know. Well, and it's not emotionally motivated. I don't really believe he's that frustrated about anything. And I'm just kind of like, wow, what the fuck? And I remember looking at my sister like, no. Like you can't just play
like
angst and convince me you have angst.
It's like we were just talking about this before we started recording, the Halloween 6 of Tommy going to the hospital with the baby and just being like, I need a doctor. Like, what seems to be the problem? Get me a doctor. And it's
the Tommy Doyle of it all, from Curse.
Amethyst
Jess, where are you from? That's what she asks. Where are you from? I don't know.
I don't know. It's just not an answer that's not proportionate to the question. Amethyst is saying the timeline of this movie is all over the place. They go to the classroom teaching Exposition 101, and they know Freddy's kid is at least 30 years old, but then John starts thinking he's Freddy's son. I think that's like, because I mentioned like the beginning of the movie's probably the best part of it for me. And one thing that I was thinking of when I was watching this, because my mind always like wanders. What do you think you can do? Just wander around the genre, but that's what I do. And I was thinking about The Thing, of all things, because that movie starts off with the helicopter following the dog, and like it's just like you're right in the middle of something happening, and you don't really have the answer of like why this is happening, but it's exciting, and you want to like keep watching and figure out what that is. And that's sort of what's happening here, just in terms of like, why is he targeted? Like, who is he? What's going on? But I don't care. Like, it doesn't, I'm not sitting there and like with this character and wondering like what is his deal. And he like conjectures all sorts of things, like to the point where it's almost like there's almost this arrogance to him where he's just like, I'll be fine, I'm Freddy's kid. It's just like, based on what? And it's the thing that's hilarious is that at the beginning of the movie, once he goes through that wall into day, or out of the dream world, Freddy says, thanks for doing your job, or I forget what the line is exactly, but it's just like, you're now going to lead me to what I actually need. So it's like, we as an audience already know that, like, okay, well, you're not the whatever the MacGuffin of the situation is, or what have you. He's just sort of like the the sniffer dog, I guess.
Yeah, he even says
Mm.
like, "Oh, little doggy now, fetch." But oddly enough, it's funny that you're talking about the opening because like it makes me think I can't make heads or tails necessarily anymore of what's going on. Whereas the first time I watched it when I was what, I don't know, 15, 16, I remember just
Mhm.
being like, it all made sense. It all made, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah. Like when he pokes a hole, I was just like, oh, okay, so I guess Springwood's just like in a perpetual dream state now that all the kids are dead. Like, I guess he can just has free reign, and maybe he can do that to the. I mean, again, headcanon. Maybe he can do that to the whole world, but he can't do it outside Springwood, so he has to punch that kid through a hole that he can't escape through yet because he's trapped in Springwood because he can only exist in the dream realm right now. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. So he's gonna go off. He's gonna bring more people, and that's why when the bus drives through it, I mean, not the bus, the van drives through it with the kids and there's the big crash and everything. I remember it made all the sense in the world to me. I was like, right, because now more than one person knows about Freddy, so he can travel. And even the weird thing that he does going into Maggie's like skull or whatever as like a shining light. I remember at first I thought, oh, he's possessing Maggie. So now she's going to be Freddy. And then I'm like, oh no, she's just carrying him. Okay, so she's just carrying him, but he's in her psyche and she's taking him out into the real world. So now he can spread like a disease. I was so in the weeds with it, but on
Yeah.
board. Not so much anymore
It's
because I realize how little discernment there is between like what, and this is something we bump up against throughout
yeah.
the franchise, how what's a dream and what's awake. It's hard to
It's
tell.
watching it because we went through the rankings and I had
Yeah,
Freddy versus Jason above this, but it's just like watching this really does make me appreciate Freddy versus Jason
me too.
because for all of its flaws, I feel that the storytelling is very clear. We know exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
We know we know Freddy's motivations. We
Hmm.
know how Jason figures into that. We know what the rules of the teenagers are. And it makes it so much easier when you can just watch a movie and understand what's happening. Like obviously there are exceptions, like if there's like a mystery that's unraveling. But
Hmm.
like I said specifically, like this is not a mystery that's, particularly that interesting. If the idea is like, okay, one of these people is Freddy's child,
Hmm.
it's like, okay, well, there's X number of people to pick from. And they've already shown Maggie have a dream in
Hmm.
which she's, if not this little girl, at least she has a perspective of her. So
Hmm.
it just feels like it's not well executed as a mystery. It's
Hmm.
not clear on what the story is. So it's just kind of like it's just a big dud.
I mean, the best thing I think I mine from the Freddy of it all, the unearthing of his backstory, is it isn't connected to his daughter at all. It's actually more connected to when they decide to dive into his mind. That was something I was just kind of like golden opportunity. And I don't think they wasted it. I just would have loved a little bit more time because
Yeah.
Freddy is such an interesting character. And I think arguably all the holy trinity of slashers, Michael, Jason, and Freddy, I'd go in any of those minds. I'd be really curious, and we do with Jason and Freddy versus Jason, but in Michael's
Yeah.
mind too, not even necessarily to get backstory, but just to see, to just get snippets, like little clues as to like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe like I think the thing that I appreciate the most is just little boy Fred Krueger
Yeah.
in the class with the hamster. I think it was a hamster, and
Yeah.
then immediately out comes the tiny little mallet or whatever, and bam and bam, and then all the
Yeah.
kids recognizing him for basically what he is and labeling him that, and then
Yeah.
and just watching him absorb it and even just see, because it's a memory, there's a kind of a jump cut uh, on his POV of the kids taunting him. Immediately they all kind of grow up for a split second and they look like the parents of Springwood, like the parents
Right.
on Elm Street of those children. And it's just, I don't need him to like have a motive because his daughter was taken away from him. That's why he needed to take their kids away from him. Really didn't need that. It's enough just knowing that like that's where the taunt started at him, which was
Yeah.
from them. That's why the taunt, it's like, well, I'm going to be the one who taunts you now. That's why I'm the
Yeah.
one, making fun of you and making light of your trauma in your nightmares. I think that's fascinating.
I agree with you in terms of Freddy and
Okay.
Jason, but Michael, like we got that in a way with Rob Zombie, and it's yeah, we didn't need that. I don't think.
Well, that's not my
It
Michael Myers.
that's fair, but even in terms of like John Carpenter's Michael Myers, we'll
Yeah,
say, it's just sort of like it's. I think that everything we got, like just Dr. Loomis and his soliloquies,
hmm,
explaining what Michael is, all that, like that is getting into Michael's head. It's just like Loomis was there, and
sure.
he's just, I trust Loomis. Like he's a crazy, son of a bitch, but he I think that his instincts are right about Michael. So I find him a reliable narrator when he
Sure.
is expressing to people like this is Michael. I feel like he sums everything up in a way that is understandable, and I know who he is, so I would never need to delve into to
No.
Michael. But I do agree that like with Freddie, it's interesting when we get this, and there's like we've had the moments like with Amanda Krueger.
Mm.
Because like she was in 3 and 5 of just like that. Like where was that in this movie? Just like more of like the
Oh.
religious um imagery and
Hmm.
symbolism, like going back to the nuns and all that and the nut house. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Son
like
of a hundred maniacs.
you made son of well, they chant it here, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What
That's
what
the
you
only
just
mention.
what you reminded me of here was a movie called The Cell with Jennifer Lopez
Oh, yeah.
from I think it was 2000, which
Yeah.
is kind
What's
of
up?
like the concept of it was like Silence of the Lambs meets The Matrix. Because The Matrix was really popular at that time, and
Hmm.
Silence of the Lambs, I mean, it was already been like 9 years removed, but like that just continues to endure. Um, so at one point, like they capture the killer.
Hmm.
But like he still has a victim who is like in a well or in a thing where she's going to succumb to whatever it is that is happening. So they have to figure out from him, but he is not conscious. Like I think that he's in a coma.
Mm.
So there's like this technology that's like part of what Jennifer Lopez's character. It's like almost like this form of therapy where they can get into their patient's mind through this like matrix like machine. So
Right.
they enlist Jennifer Lopez to go into the mind of this killer.
Yeah.
And it's I haven't seen it in a long time, but I just remember it being like vividly
Hmm.
amazing. Like, it was just a stunning movie.
Yeah.
And if I recall, there was like a reversal where it's just like she put him into her mind at one point so she could have more control. But
Ooh.
like you're making me think of, and I want to watch that movie again now. But you're making me think of, concepts that they had done that with Freddy here, and really kind of committed to that idea that could have been more of this movie rather than
That's
most
why,
of what we get throughout it.
yeah, I agree with you. That's why I think, I'm sorry, I went on the wrong pipe. Excuse me. That's why I think Tracy is actually a better candidate for his final foe, just because also the most interesting thing we learn about Freddy's past is that he was, victimized as a child. While he was victimizing animals, like it was clear the path that he was on, but that he was going to be hurting people at some point, and he started hurting the youngest and the most vulnerable. But that he was victimized at some point, and to see someone who is also victimized as a child, they see again. There's just like these incredible parallels, and it's not like Maggie wasn't victimized as a child, but it's just. I feel like it almost should have been even more grandiose. Like, I don't even know how you achieve that. You know what? The whole thing with Freddy's suburban life and the fact that he had a wife and had a child and had a backyard and had a water tower that you can see from the backyard. All of
Mhm.
that feels like it would be so much more evocative if I were reading it in a graphic novel than it is in cinema because and I don't even know why. Maybe because like the kineticism with which you turn the pages, the fact that you can go through it and just go what, and just there's something about seeing it in the movie. The fact that it's supposed to a living, breathing person watching them kind of embody that when the rest of again we saw him like riding a broom, we saw him pushing spikes on a bed, and now we're supposed to like have some kind of question mark over our head about like is there a real loyalty to his daughter? And even that, I don't know. what what is the end game with the daughter? Like he wanted her, but he also wanted to spread himself, which feel like two completely different agendas. And the one of him spreading himself makes sense because it's the one that we've followed through the entire franchise. The one about finally wanting to get in touch with her, and then it feels like the movie tries to answer it without ever answering it because on one hand he wanted to destroy her, but on another he also wanted to make her just like him, which again we've already been there. We've crossed that bridge with Jacob and with Jesse. So it's not like it's unfamiliar territory, so it's not like it goes against canon, but it's also not the most interesting turn you could take. I feel like another one, there were small, again, slivers of moments where after Maggie first kind of like has it introduced that like Freddy might be her father, she goes to her mother's home, her childhood home,
Mhm.
and she walks through the door and slams it and just goes, "Mother!" And I'm like, oh, I'm getting a little Nancy from that.
Very.
Very
It's
little, but
it's very it's very much like the Scream 3 fuck you to the Scream 6 fuck
right,
you.
right. And also, but I mean, again, I got a sliver that actually resonated with me more so with Tracy when she is in the nightmare. She's confronting, Freddy, and he's, just like fucking with her mind and everything like that. And she decides, I don't even want to be here anymore. I'm just gonna hold my hand over these burners, this stovetop that I'm dreaming about to wake myself up. And I was like, oh, it's giving Nancy burning her forearm on the pipe to wake herself up. And that one I was so much happier about than the mother. But but I mean, I do think because for you, you talk about like enjoying the opening. The thing that first really started feeling like a nightmare on Elm Street film to me, where I was like, this is undeniably something that I'm clicking in with, was Carlos's nightmare. When because it's the seeds planted earlier when he says, I think to Spencer, he stopped talking back when it became hazardous to his health, implying that like, okay, so this deafness I guess in both ears was like pushed on you, and now you have a hearing aid in like one ear that I guess you still have some relative hearing in. So then we see him confronting his mother, but then crumbling like in front of her, and then everything what after that Q-tip goes in, like there's something so gory
Ugh.
about it. Yeah,
I
it's
hate I hate
so
all the ear stuff.
yeah, but
And
I
the
love it.
chalkboard.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
The second the mother is out of the picture and he like pulls the fucking Q-tip out of his ear, and
Yeah.
it's just gross. Then
Yeah.
he has his hearing aid taken from him and he finds it's Fredified. So he puts it back in his ear and immediately there's that pulsating thing, and then all of a sudden Freddy's dropping needles, from or pins from the boiler room. We're finally back in the boiler room. I don't think that's one thing I did miss from
Mhm.
five. I don't think we were in the boiler room once in that movie.
Mm.
But it was much more, the Gothic church motif, the
Yeah.
final showdown from four. But everything about that, again, the taunt, the fact that like it's the as he's making the chalkboard longer and everything like that. I don't know. There's something, and even just when Carlos is looking around, and he's just behind him shouting his lungs out, making fun of the fact that this kid can't hear him. I'm just kind of like, yes, this is Freddy.
Mhm.
This it's not the I'll get you, my pretty, and your little soul too. I mean, it's Robert Englund, so yes, it's Freddy. It's canon, so it's Freddy.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, this is my Freddy, the one who's like, again, getting off on inflicting pain or even just taunting a kid who doesn't deserve it, you know? That
Mhm.
so and the same thing again, like there's some wonderful sadism that I can observe in him wearing the mask of Tracy's father to get to her. And I'm glad she survives, but I do wish she'd survived because she was the final girl and not because also she survives, Maggie survives, and Doc survives. We don't even just have a final couple, we have a final trio.
We have a final thruple, I thought you were gonna say.
A final thruple. And I wouldn't want Yaphet Kotto, who Robert Englund pronounces it Cottos, and I don't know. Yaphet Kotto, Cotto. I've always heard it Kotto before, but I don't know.
Mhm.
Robert Englund says
Yaphet,
Cotto.
Yaphet from
Yaphet.
from Alien and one of my
Yeah.
faves, Live and Let Die.
Yeah.
He's the
He's a
villain.
very
He's
memorable Bond villain. Yes.
yeah,
Really, really good.
a lot of fun too. Yeah, R.I.P. Recently, like
Yeah.
within the last couple of years, but he's always one that like every time he shows up on screen in something, it's just like immediately like he's just like has that ability to like really
So good.
connect.
Yeah.
Um, mhm.
And he does. I mean,
Um,
the few moments that he has being like a mentor for Tracy and for Maggie, frankly, I listen when he talks. When he's talking to Freddie, just the reaction shots from him, listening, like getting the information that he needs. When Freddie's talking about the dream people, gave me this job and all that stuff. God
oh
bless Robert
yeah,
Englund for committing, because I
yeah,
buy it, but I would not want to write it and
yeah.
serve it to him and say these lines as Freddie.
Yeah, yeah. Clark is reminding us that four survived Dream Warriors. So I guess that would have been Kristen,
Oh, right.
Kincaid, and Joey.
Joey.
And what was his name?
Oh, I always forget his fucking name.
Neil.
Neil. Thank
Neil.
you.
Where
Yeah,
he should have come back for this movie.
that would have been cool, but nobody.
Yeah.
I love this franchise. It's one of my favorites, and I always forget his name.
Yeah,
So
that's fair. Well, it's just because the franchise doesn't care about him.
no, it doesn't.
But had he come back in four, I think that he would have,
Oh my
made more of an
God.
impression.
If he and Yaphet Kotto had been like the two kind of like authority figures who believe these kids, one because he's awesome, which is Doc, and the other one because he's been here before and he's awesome, which is Neil. Oh my God, that would have been amazing. That would have been
Mhm.
cool. But, we want our final girls and everything like that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, does it always like have to be a final girl? Like, what are some of like the final boys that we?
Tommy Jarvis,
Yeah,
Jesse from
TJ,
this one, Jesse from
um,
this.
Jesse. Oh,
Uh,
from part two.
yeah. I mean, I guess is Jacob a final boy?
No, because he wasn't even
No, he wasn't.
born.
Well, he had a hand in defeating him at the end. Like he vomits on him.
Whatever. Well, the ones I think like Ash,
Ash for
um,
sure, final boy.
Andy,
Andy Barton,
Andy.
yeah. Hmm.
Um, hmm, gosh,
Yeah, they're
this is
fewer and further between.
Elijah Wood and the faculty.
Sure. You
What the
like
fuck
that?
was that?
You like that movie so much more than I do. I want to see what they do with the remake.
Guaranteed to jack you up. Guaranteed to jack you up.
I mean, does Josh Hartnett count in H2O? He
No,
doesn't.
because
He's no, because he doesn't do
he
the final
was
battle.
he
Yeah.
was just like he was shuffled aside
Yeah.
for the end there. You know, like she took that away from him. It would have
It's
been great
difficult.
if he had been there with her.
Yeah. It.
But then would we have gotten like a Halloween end situation where Allison comes in at the last minute and like I don't even remember because I've seen that movie once. Did she like stab him into the counter some more or something? Some weird shit happens. So maybe it was best that Josh Hartnett was excised from the treachery.
Yes, right. Yeah, expires tonight, this evening. But I mean, this is the thing. Like, uh, there's something just elemental about a final girl, and I'm not saying I love them all. I was just talking to somebody about like some of the weaker ones in
Mhm.
various franchises today, but there's something so elemental about just like the yin and the yang, not to be all binary about it, but the male, the female of it all, the aggressor and the aggressee, but the aggressee pushing back and defying kind of like the roles that I think early 20th century and everything that came before then was kind of telling women that they needed to be and to do or not be and absolutely never do.
Mhm.
With men, it's harder because you verge on moving into kind of like more action hero territory. And
Yeah.
without, we talked about this in depth a lot with the 007 discussions that we had. For me,
Right.
if there's no like moral compass and if there's no sense of the mission and if there's no kind of like streak of nobility to a male hero, I it's harder for me to get on board, even if it's like with Ash. It's easy to get on board because I'm watching a man who's being plagued by the undead, by by the deadites and the unknown, and just doing the best he can, because if he doesn't, he's going to have plates crashed over his head and dead people laughing at him. Like that I can
Mhm.
sympathize with. But I think that's why I tend to lean, if I'm going into an action territory, I tend to lean more toward superhero flicks because there is an idealism, at least, that they're usually
Sure.
defending there. So, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. If there was a character in this franchise to be designated, I mean, you already mentioned Jesse, but
Yeah.
who else would be a contender for Final Boy?
Oh, beyond Jesse. Oh, because because, yeah, it's, me. Because
Yeah.
people say when they're listing final girls, they also include Gail from Scream. Me personally,
Mm.
I don't. I consider her a survivor, definitely, and a badass, and I love her. But final girl, no, because Gail's never in like the
She's
one to
not
go
in
toe to
the,
toe in
yeah.
the final toe to toe showdown. That's a final girl to
And
me.
if she is, she's sort of like it's like she's brought into it.
Yeah,
She doesn't get there um like based of her own volition. Like it's just
she
like in like
she.
Scream 5
I was just gonna say
Mikey Madison had to drag her into the thing and then Sydney had to give her the gun and
exactly.
she got
Sydney
there, but it was
tossed it to
yeah.
her.
Yeah.
She's like, "You got this. This is your kill shot." But it
But
became
she had the
Gail's
assist.
because
Yeah.
Sydney passed it to her.
Yeah.
Said, "Go
And I mean
for it."
and that didn't even kill her because then
No.
it was actually given to Jenna Ortega um instead.
I still prefer the
So
Babadook. Yeah. But you love those movies.
I have not seen the Babadook, the Babadook
I want to ask you
in
something
a
completely off
while.
topic with the Babadook. Are
Yeah.
you, because I find the majority of audiences hate the little boy in that movie. How do you feel about him?
I mean, I haven't watched it in a while, so I don't know.
Okay.
I remember the memes,
Yeah.
and that's mostly what I remember.
Okay.
Um,
And the
so
fact that he's a
I
gay icon now.
how did that even come to be?
Netflix accidentally, when it was streaming Babadook, put it in
Yeah.
LGBT or gay and lesbian, I think was the subcategory that they put him in, and everybody was like, "Why?" And they were like,
Interesting.
and then LGBTQ just embraced it, and now he's on
Yeah.
posters.
The way that the Pride Month, Pride Demon,
Yeah.
Pride Demon
Yeah.
was embraced.
Yes. Oh my God, you know what? I have that poster. I haven't seen those two coincide with each other, the Babadook and the Pride Demon month.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do that. Oh my God, I would.
Pride Demon,
Pride Demon month. Try Pride
Demon.
D month. Pride
Yeah.
D month.
It's like
Anyway,
13 in ghosts
Right.
or seven and Scriphorum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because we didn't talk about it, I talked about the kill scenes that I like, but the one that I don't like is the video game one. Um,
Oh, it's awful. And are
yeah.
they even did like it just like it doesn't feel finalized like any of the kills in the movie. Other
No.
than maybe John Doe, because we see him like laying there. Like the other kids they just disappear.
Yeah, just watching,
Yeah.
but even that, just watching Maggie go, no, or whatever. I'm just, John! I'm like, oh God, whatever. You barely know him. And I shouldn't be feeling that way, me of all people. But
What was the line that he yelled at her again?
I
When
don't know.
it
She's,
just
where are you from? I
it's
don't know.
it's giving me Showgirls, Know Me Malone, like where are you
Different
from?
places. Oh my God. That's it. She's asking, where are you from? French fries everywhere. Different places. He's the Nomi Malone of this movie.
But
Elizabeth
nowhere
Berkley.
near as
No,
fabulous.
Elizabeth Berkley should have been the final girl of this movie.
Oh
That
my
would have been
God. Could you
amazing.
imagine Know Me Malone 4 years before just like the Nightmare on Elm Street prequel
This
to
is the
Showgirls.
first. This is the first thing she survives. Then Showgirls, and I'm still waiting on her going to
Yeah.
Hollywood.
And
But
then she has to go toe to speaking of Kyle MacLachlan, there's
oh
your
my
Twin Peaks.
God, yeah, God, what an
Freddy
underrated actor. He's so
Freddy
good.
Krueger could have been the what was the name of like the is it was he was a musician or something that the roommate
Oh,
like
the stand-in for fucking I can't even remember the real guy. The When a Man Michael Bolton stand-in. I don't remember what his name is in the
oh
movie.
oh my God.
Yeah.
We need to cover that. I don't care that it's not horror. We need to cover that movie soon.
Put it in the contender as a contender for the
Well, no,
Fortune of the Month or something.
we
We
can
could
just
just do
decide
it.
on our own. Where yeah.
It is Randy's favorite horror movie.
Horror movie.
His favorite
Horror.
scary movie.
The
Horror.
horror, you see, the horror passed from Crystal Connors and it
See,
passed into to Nomi Malone.
now I'm just imagining like Nomi in a straitjacket turning and staring down the barrel of the camera going, face free me, you idiot, I'm your fucking memory. I sound like Cher, but but how would Elizabeth Berkley free me, you idiot, I'm your fucking memory. I'm from different places. And I'm not a whore. But oh, but I that's the thing. It's like to get back to the kill with the video game, just like the line when he's sitting there like, now I'm playing with power. I remember my dad like watching over my shoulder some of this movie back in the day. And the thing that made him chuckle was he watches Super Spencer, you know, kind of I guess what's the word? Subdue his father, and the cutaway line is great graphics. And my dad chuckled at that, and I remember thinking then, like, oh no, Freddy's become the dad joke king. That's what it is. Because I used to
Yeah.
laugh when Freddy made bad jokes, but now I'm just kind of going, oh, dad. That's, I guess it's
They
fitting. This is his, and
they
it
should
is. She,
just
when she
yeah.
kills him, she does say Happy Father's Day. So
Which I mean belated, yeah.
yeah,
Just
we just passed. So yeah,
also
timely.
did you we mentioned it during the Raising Cain episode, but the original title
Yeah.
for that was Father's Day.
Oh,
Even though
right.
it's a Valentine's Day
Yeah.
event movie. They should have just called the movie Freddy's Dad.
Freddy's
Freddy's
dad.
Dad,
Freddy
played by
is
Alice
dad.
Cooper.
Or, I mean, it could have a double meaning, like Freddy's dad as in Alice Cooper, but also Freddy's dad as in Freddy is now dad.
Freddy's dad.
You didn't know he didn't know he was daddy.
Freddy's daddy is what I was gonna say.
Freddy's
Yeah. Freddy's
daddy.
daddy. He is so daddy.
He's so daddy.
So daddy.
I appreciated, I remember Rachel Talalay pointing out like the womb-like tunnels in the previous sequels that, and she
Mm.
said, you might want to ask the male filmmakers about like their obsession with these womb-like tunnels that Freddy is always sucking children through. But she had a tunnel, but when you look through it, it's more charred. She made certain for it not to look all organic and
Vaginal,
poltergeist
yeah.
jelly and everything. Yeah, she wanted it to look just like like a coal miner lives down there. You don't want to
Mm.
fall down that well. It looked more like a well. So I appreciated that. I'm trying to think about like
Yeah.
pluses for this movie, but I don't think we're going to offend nearly as many people with our negative take on this one as we
I
did
don't know if
maybe
we have very
last week.
much. Yeah. I don't know if we have that much time
Yeah.
anyway, but I'm
Okay.
I'm simply like, out of anything to say uh beyond this point other than other than
Well
the
then.
usual.
Okay, well then, I guess I'll just wrap it up with just saying, as far as the practical effects, I appreciated a lot of what was going on, going into the kills and into the dream sequences. And I found out, I had forgotten, I guess, that John Carl Buechler, my fave, my love from the director of Fragay, the 13th,
Mm,
part 7. Um, he was basically at the helm for all of the practical effects in this movie, so
okay.
that's another reason why I think I gravitate toward like the pumping of the ear with Carlos's nightmare and
Mm,
the monstrosity of the face like morphing like don't
yeah.
you want a honey for daddy, everything. So
Yeah.
there's a lot to praise in the movie, or that the movie is comprised of, but the final result is lacking, and I'm glad that we got yet another ending. You know,
Yes.
a kind of open
Another
ending.
end. We've had several endings
Yeah,
since, but yeah,
but there's
on
only
that.
one real one for me.
Okay. We'll find out what that is when we or have we already passed it?
There's only two that we haven't discussed at this point, so you'll the
Okay.
remake or New Nightmare.
Okay. Well, I
You
don't
be
know.
the
Well, I don't know.
judge.
I wasn't sure if maybe we'd already gone through it.
Oh,
But
I mean, I love just watching that cross light up on his forehead at the end of
yeah.
Dream Warriors. Feels so right,
Mm,
you know? That was a
okay.
more fitting death for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. On that note, let's get to the cherry picker.
It's not like we kill people on purpose.
All righty. We need your guys' help.
Hmm.
Because I have no idea who the cherry on top would be.
Oh, I do.
This.
I
Oh,
don't think we've chosen him yet.
well, no, that's what we're doing now. Oh,
Yeah,
we haven't
no,
chosen.
the one who I think we should choose.
Okay. And who, pray tell, may that be?
The common thread?
Did we not choose
I don't
Freddy
remember.
before?
Amethyst?
No, yeah, Amethyst, right? We have not had a Freddy cherry yet.
I think he deserves it. I think he
Yeah.
worked. Even Robert Englund came forward and said that they jumped the shark with this particular installment, which is a
Yeah.
perfect metaphor for it. But I don't think he did. I think his performance is solid, and he's just as Freddy as ever. So,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
There's choices, but they're not his.
yeah,
So I agree. Yeah, we're having some some shout outs for Roseanne, I think ironically.
yeah.
Um,
I'm not comfortable doing
it was so jarring, and it just like there's Roseanne and then Tom Arnold, and there was only like it was like what, like 2 seconds, like
Mm,
but it's like I always think about that, like when I think of this
yeah.
movie, it's just like, oh, the one with Roseanne and Tom Arnold.
I will say I appreciate the fact that they didn't come because they weren't even doing a favor for anybody. They just loved the franchise, the two of them, so much that they
Yeah.
wanted to be a part of it. That I love, and I love a lot of things about her at the time.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
Clark is saying, I think Tracy is the best character for
Uh,
the movie. I
I
just don't
mean,
remember her. Like she
oh,
doesn't.
I do,
It just
but
she just feels like a like an angrier Kristen to me.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't share that. She seeing the I can't remember the actress's name right now. I have it written down though. Unless you know it offhand.
No, I don't.
Shit, I wrote it down. Where is she? Because I haven't seen her in a lot of stuff. Leslie Dean is her name. She was in, apparently Robert had worked with her. I don't know if he was, I don't know what capacity he was in it because I've never seen it, but apparently she was in 976 Evil. And he was really charmed by her in that, whether they worked together on it or whether he just saw it and thought, put her in a New Line thing. But yeah, she had done that. And also I found out, I was looking at like Freddy's Nightmares because apparently you can stream the series Freddy's Nightmares on Plex with ads. She's apparently in an episode, and I don't know who she played, so I have to go back and watch Freddy's Nightmares from beginning to end. Poor me. It's not a good show, but I'm, my inner third grader loves it.
Did you ever watch the Friday the 13th show?
No, and I want to because apparently that one was actually like semi-decent.
Well, it's just interesting that because we're talking about her being in that show because the actor who was in
Jason Goes to
Jason
Hell.
Goes to Hell, yeah,
Yes.
he was the main character on the show on
Yeah,
the Friday the 13th.
yeah. He was the only common thread between the series and the movie franchise, but there's a lot of crossover. Oh, not a lot, but Robert Englund was in the pilot of Freddy's Nightmares, and he always introduced it kind of like Rod Serling style for Twilight Zone. So, yeah.
Yeah, you said Leslie Dean.
Yes, that's her name.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Amethyst is
Thanks,
saying
Amethyst.
Leslie Amethyst has all the facts.
You have our back,
on the ready.
Amethyst.
He's got all the past stats of the cherry picker. Which if you go to the YouTube, you can click on the link in the links, and it'll show you everything.
Yeah.
Lots of fun stuff there. Okay, so last week we asked you who deserves to die
Oh
the
boy.
most in Jason Lives.
Oh boy.
I nominated Deputy Rick Cologne.
Yes.
You nominated Megan Garris.
I did.
Megan.
And
across
Reagan.
across Patreon, Instagram, and
There we are.
YouTube.
Yes.
The final tally was 445 for Rick Cologne versus 115 for Megan.
Completely unforeseen. No, I'm kidding. I knew that was going to happen. I can't wait to hear this.
Completely unforeseen. Well, let's see what some of the comments have to say about
Yes.
what is going on here. Thomas Baker. Easy, Deputy Rick. Amethyst Frost. I rewatched this movie for the pod and my rating went down. And Megan, which is Megan, is one of the biggest reasons why. She and Tommy are an awful final couple with no chemistry. Megan just acts like a reckless brat for most of the movie, and she basically only survives through dumb luck, since Jason lets her go and she spends the climax screaming and doing absolutely nothing. She wouldn't have even gotten involved if Tommy weren't drowning, but then she's the one who gets to finish off Jason. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. How do you say ma'am? How do you say ma'am? And British.
They do. It depends the accent because there are some people who go mom,
Mom.
mom, like M-U-M.
No, mom. No, mom.
But yes. Or then there's also people who do the full madam. But then there's also people who literally hit that accent between the two A's, M-A accent A-M. So they go ma'am.
Ma'am. Ma'am.
Ma'am. What I love about it is that whatever the last thing you said was, the last thing you read, it sounded like Chucky doing an English accent. What was the last sentence? The last two words?
Oh.
What was it?
But then she's
No,
the
ma'am.
one.
No, ma'am.
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
But English. No, ma'am.
No, ma. I don't know.
No, mum.
Grant Dempsey, Kyle McLaughlin planned to include a flashback in which Megan had her face pushed into a cake by her mother. The scene was storyboarded and everything, but the studio refused to allow it in the movie, considering it's stale since the franchise had already featured an evil mother. But knowing that background, I just can't bring myself to vote for Megan here. In fact, I'm aghast that Eddie would nominate her and criticize her for her brave stance against her mother's monstrous legacy, so Rick Colonna lives.
Oh, I didn't read that book. I don't know the law.
Timbig, Megan is a misunderstood brat. Leave her out of this. Rick is a douche, coward, unless he has a weapon in his hand.
That's true.
Lexi Smichinsky, Deputy Rick, because he has no survival skills. He just walks right into that cell and puts up no fight. Yeah, he had a gun pointed at him, but he's a cop. He couldn't weasel his way out of there and get the gun back. He just calmly gets locked in the jail cell in his own station, silly goose.
Did they write Silly Goose?
Silly goose is written.
Oh my God,
It
it's
is
perfect
written.
for your accent. It's written.
You silly goose. Philly goof.
Philly.
Philly goof. Jazzy Boo. Deputy Rick was not only annoying, he was also stupid and an asshole. Megan was just a little horny. Heave, 85. Megan is a whiny baby, but Rick is a dick.
Okay.
Nathan Walker. There's an emoji of a red circle. Where the dot goes, you die, or whatever that line is.
You
Goodbye,
bang.
Deputy Rick, you douche.
You bang, you douche. I
you
like
douche.
that. That's great. I like that.
Adrian Phillips. Deputy Rick Cologne probably didn't even smell that good. Oh yeah, my vote, Megan. She invades the frame more than Cologne, grounds for death. It'd be funny to have seen Zach vote for Tommy. Boring final couple. I prefer Ray and Julie, and that's a lot. Ray and Julie of I
know what you did last summer, where we did nominate the final couple, did we not?
We did, yeah. I think you voted. You nominated Julie, right? I was a Ray.
I think so. Amethyst would
Yeah.
know.
It's in the thing.
It's in the spreadsheet.
It's in the spreadsheet. Dylan Jameson, Deputy Cologne is lucky he got the nickname of Rick from Richard. It could have been worse. Gotten the nickname Dick because he'd be Dick Cologne. And he is a bit of a dick. Usually I vote with Eddie's pick, but wherever the red dot goes, you bang, and my dot is on Deputy Cologne, who was an absolute dick. Sean Prinsick, I hated Rick, he's so obnoxious. Megan is a very shallow character, but she does try to be helpful sometimes. Jason Lives is a bit overrated for me. All the scenes with Jason are great, and the meta humor works well. The problem is, Tommy is pretty worthless until the climax, and the police refuse to do anything. That's why I skip the scenes with the sheriff and Rick on rewatches. I mean, Tommy obviously sounds crazy, but you're telling me that the sheriff isn't at least going to try to look into what's going on? Jason is a serial killer that's been pronounced dead only to return multiple times. Why does he think this is the one time Jason hasn't returned? The better protagonists would have been the camp counselors at the lake. That way, it would have given the opportunity to focus on the camp being open for a change. What?
Wow. I just want to say, I mean, yes, he's come back multiple times, but the sheriff might not have gotten wind of that because he came back multiple times so far in the franchise over like a week. So he may be fuzzy on the facts, how often Jason actually came back.
Fuzzy on the facts, yeah.
Fuzzy on the facts.
Vicky Scream says, I picked Megan because she's just so forgettable. I at least remember Rick, the dick, but all I remember about Megan is how Rick says her name. Megan. What does he say?
I don't know.
Megan, you're getting yourself in a lot of trouble here.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Sure, something like that. Amethyst, how does he say?
You're putting a lot of pressure on Amethyst.
I know, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. We just
Uh,
value you so much. Thank you.
Spidey fan. Eddie's argument swayed me to Megan.
Oh,
Helen. Rick, obviously, that dude was prime cannon fodder for Jason. Every time I rewatch the movie, I think he's gonna die. And every time I get a bit more impatient for the cherry picker to cover this movie so we can right that wrong.
oh,
Finally, that day has come.
oh, yay! Am I the only one who thinks Dick Cologne sounds kind of hot?
Dick Cologne.
Babe,
Hey,
gotcha.
I gotta go down to
Yeah.
the market and pick up some Dick
No,
Cologne.
it's like, you're making out with your boyfriend, and then he just kind of whispers in your ear, like, hey, babe, I got you some Dick Cologne. You're like, ooh, really?
I spritzed a little Dick Cologne down there. So pucker up.
I'm just curious. I hear it and I just get curious. Anyway, is there anything else?
I just get curious. No, I think
Okay, you
we
go
can
first.
nominate now. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I have no idea. I was not prepared. Oh my God, this is so unexpected. I literally did not consider
You
any.
you were just so bored.
I was. Oh my God. Okay, let me look. Um.
Oh my God.
Do, 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 do,
Yeah, I'm
do,
scrolling
do.
through the cast on IMDb as
I
well.
I am. God. This is tough. Um, I guess, I mean, this is just so easy,
Okay.
and it's probably gonna be your picks. I don't want to take it away from you.
Oh, that's
Um,
sweet.
I'm gonna, you know what? John Doe, because what did he
Ooh.
do? What did he do?
Yeah.
And he was just so arrogant. It was just like this entitlement. Like, he's my father. I like yada yada. And it's just like, you idiot. The timeline doesn't right. Like, who do you think you are, Heatherface from TCM 3D? Where it's just like, how is this 20 something supposed to be this 40-year-old daughter? It doesn't make any sense. So death to John Doe.
I mean, in his defense, like the guy did seem to be off his rocker. I would have paid attention to the year he pointed at, but it would have been interesting if the argument had been put in, just like he pointed at the year, the same way, just like, do you see, she remembered me. She's like, and she remembered me, and a bunch of other like nobody, nothing, whatever ghost things that aren't there, imaginary people. I think she says the lines are not always worth remembering from this movie,
What's
and
the line? Okay, my favorite
yes,
line, sorry, before you nominate,
go.
is at the end, and it's like when they've she's saying something to him, like Lisa Zane. It's just like, oh, something, something, father. I hated it then too. And it's just
Oh,
like she
oh,
really plays it
Daddy.
up.
Yeah, oh, Daddy. This reminds me of the time when we used to hold hands when I was a little girl. I hated it then too.
That's actually the
Father's
my favorite fucking line of the movie.
You know what would have made Lisa Zane's role? I mean, no, again, no disrespect to Lisa Zane, like good for her. She
Mhm.
actually seems like a right one. Like I've seen her in interviews, and she says this is the only movie that I ever made where everybody's still talking about it like 30 years later. No other movie I made has
Yeah.
people talking, and I'm like, good for you. You have a great sense of humor about it and everything. But Jennifer Tilly as Maggie. She could have been there just like, Freddy's dead. Oh, Daddy, this reminds me of when everything would be slower though. Of when we used to hold hands when I was a little girl. I didn't like it then either. How dare you speak that way to me? Here I am making Swedish meatballs, making cookies. I'm sorry. Okay, anyway.
All right.
I'm just cracking myself up. Okay.
Who's the
I think
nomination?
you anticipated correctly. So nobody will probably be surprised. Thank you for not taking it from me because then I would have been like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Actually, all the parents pretty much suck in this movie, but the one who sucks the most is Tracy's father. And that's what he's billed as. And yeah, since Freddy is the cherry on top, the prime predator of the movie is him. And I really shouldn't even have to make a case. Like, that's the thing. you could still swing this because there might be, I don't know if everybody else feels the same way about John Doe as I do or as we do, because we're both
Hmm.
kind of infuriated by him. So the infuriating vote sometimes gets the, I don't know, the
Yeah.
moral whatever, but we'll see. I'm interested to see
Um,
what people say. I want
well,
to
I've
hear.
put it into the chat, and so far
Okay.
it's 50-50.
Okay.
Just put it in, so I mean
Yeah.
it could start moving. Um, as it does. Grant is it's a little bit of trivia here.
Ooh.
Lisa Zane apparently recorded a song for the end credits, but it was rejected in favor of Iggy Pop's. Iggy
Well,
Pop's.
I mean, Iggy
Yeah,
Pulp.
Iggy Pop's.
They could have
I
put it
mean,
somewhere else in the movie, though. Come on.
speaking of the credits, all like and greatest hits,
Yeah.
all like watching that, I'm just like, oh, I'm reminded of better movies.
Also, wait, I think I've heard it. Is it kind of like just Freddy's dead, but she sings it and they were trying to do like kind of a Bond theme? I feel like I remember hearing it. It was just her kind of going, Freddy's dead, or something like that. Was it something like that? I have a vague memory that I may have heard this before, and Iggy Pop was certainly the way to go, but they could have found
Yeah.
a place for it. It would have been funny if he could have been tickling the ivories, and she could have been, up on the piano, Michelle Pfeiffer,
Yeah.
Fabulous Baker Boys style, just
Yeah.
crooning about her father being dead. That would have been great.
Yeah. We're at 67% for Tracy's father.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to
Fun.
hear what people say
Fun.
too, though. Like that's always
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Well, we'll find out next week. Anyway,
Yeah.
gosh, I'm so brain fogged right now. How do we usually wrap this up? Oh yes. So those are your options. You can vote for
Yes.
you can vote for John Doe or you can vote for Tracy's father. And that will be open as a poll on Patreon, which is free to the public. So if you want to head over there and cast an extra vote, you may do that. But while you're there, subscribe to the Freddy Krueger tier and you can join us in these live chats and get to pick your choice for what we cover at the end of the month.
Hmm.
You can also vote on Instagram at the Cherry Picker Pod. Follow us there. We put that up every week. And on YouTube, here in the post section, formerly the community section. And if you are watching this, remember that the RSS feed is in the descriptions down below. And if you are listening to this, head over to YouTube and throw us a subscription our way, if you please. Edward, where may they find you on social media?
That was another exchange that I thought was hilarious when he's just kind of like, "Give Daddy the glove back, Princess," and she goes, "Never." Anyway, you can find me. It's right up there with "This is for them. It's for them."
Well,
Whatever the
she does
names
that,
are.
but she does
Yeah.
that. It's the
You
this
killed
is
my
for
mother.
she's like this is for Carlos and Spence, but Spencer didn't get because that's what he
No,
like
she didn't
grabbed.
mention Spencer. Yeah, but
Oh,
then she
yeah.
Margaret whites him with the knives that Tracy's throwing at
Uh,
her.
but no, the Halloween Resurrection is this is for Rudy and
Right.
for whatever what's her face's character is. For Jen, for Rudy, for all of them,
Yes.
for Tyra Banks. What was her name was
That
Nora. Yeah.
you would remember better than I would.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious if she just would have screamed, "This is for Tyra
For
Banks."
Lori. Where's the Lori show?
I know, right? She doesn't give a shit about Lori. She doesn't
Yeah.
know who that bitch is. Anyway,
No.
you can find me
No.
on Instagram and Letterboxd predominantly these days. Edward is Truth, one word, traditional spelling, no spaces. And what about you, Zach? Where can I find you?
Well, you also one more is it reminded me of the Hellraiser of like, give it to me now.
Yeah, I like
Well,
that one better.
yeah,
Than just
little
never.
Kirsty Cotton, yeah. And then she had the follow up in the sequel when she's um coming out of the shower and she's like,
Yes,
okay, we got to get dressed, and she opens the wardrobe and all the clothes are gone. She just turns to him and she says, "Shit."
yes. Love her.
Yeah. No.
Where can they find
Um,
you?
yeah, you can find
Never.
me never on Instagram at Retro Bitch Face. I got my main YouTube channel, Zach Cherry, ZACK space CHERRY. Letterboxd is Zach Cherry, or actually it's Retro Bitch Face. I don't know, I forget. And then Twitter, Zach Cherry 8. What is? I mean, we already mentioned it, but just a refresher. What is going on next week?
Top number to be filled in.
Just the best,
maybe
the best
maybe
kill
10
of each
best
franchise.
kills of each franchise. So okay, is it going to be like a versus where like you choose one and I choose one? Because if we try to compromise,
I think that we each provide our own favorite, just a little variety.
Because if we try to agree on something or try to coax each other, that sometimes works. Sometimes we've swayed each other, but not always.
And this is a great opportunity to come on board the Patreon and join us in the chat, because you can provide us with your favorite kill of the franchises.
Yeah, follow us on Instagram.
Franchises.
Maybe we'll post like a list of what the franchises are, so they can know in advance, so they can have their list.
Well, you're gonna have to remind me of that, because that's a
maybe. I said maybe it won't happen. I don't know. Maybe you'll just tune in on Patreon and chime.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and we will return very shortly.